and welcome. My name's Sam and this is Little Greenhouse Creates. Thank you for joining me today. This is our Funky Fold Friday. So I just wanted to show you that the card we're going to create today actually fits in a 5x5 envelope. So let's just take it out so you can see what we're going to do. This is what I call a diamond pop-up card. It pops up. Excuse me. I have got a throat lozenge and my voice has decided to be croaky today, so apologies. So the card sits like this, or like that on the side view, and it pops out. So it lies straight, pops in, and then you pop it into the envelope like so. So we're going to focus on the design of the card more than the overall decorating, but we will decorate it. Don't worry about that. So this is the designer series paper that comes with the stamp set of the week birthday celebrations, and I have used a bit more of the ephemera that comes with it. Excuse me. So let's bring in the supplies. So the first thing we need is a piece of 4x12 cardstock. Now this is the old olive. I have got lots of pieces here. So I have a piece of designer series paper which measures 3 3/4. I have another piece that measures 3 1/4 by 3 1/4, and then I have two pieces that measure 1 3/4 by 3 3/4. Okay, plus I have a 2 1/2 by 2 1/2 piece of white cardstock for the sentiment. Excuse me. I have, as I said, got a piece of ephemera for the front, and I have already stamped myself out a little banner that says happy birthday, and that is 1/2 inch by 2 3/4, I believe. Yeah, 2 3/4. And that sentiment has come from the Simply Said stamp set. So let's get on with the card. Just going to try and pick up all these pieces. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to score our piece of cardstock. Oops. So I'm going to bring in my score board. Okay. And we are going to, I just want to check that you can actually see the top of the board here. Yeah, you can. Okay, okay. Right. So we're going to score it at 2 inches, 4 inches, 8 inches, and 10 inches. Now, before we take it away, we're going to go to the 6 inch and we're just going to put a little mark just at the top. I'm going to turn it round and do exactly the same at the 6 inches, a little mark. So you've literally got a little mark here and here. Okay, and that's your 6 inch mark. Right. Now, keeping hold of my scoring tool, I'm bringing in my ruler. And what I need you to do is go from the 2 inch mark, which is this one up here, and I want you to diagonally score from the 2 inch mark all the way down to the 6 inch mark. I'm just going to put my light on, and hopefully we can see a little bit better. So that's the 2 inch to the 6 inch. So that's 2 inch is there, and I'm going to move that across to my 6 inch. So let's see where we are. 2 inch. 6 inch. So I'm going to start at the 2 and I'm going to go all the way down to the 6 inch. Okay, and then we're going to go to the 10 inch mark and we're going to score all the way down to the 6 inch. Okay, so let's do so there's the 6 inch and there's the 10 inch. So okay, so down from there and all the whoops. Try not for it to move. Not a good look if it moves. Okay. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going from our 2 inch, the bottom of our 2 inch. So that was the top of our 2 inch. We're now going to go to the bottom of our 2 inch score line. And we're going to go up to the 6 inch that's up there. So from there to there. And this will give us our spring mechanism to make the card pop. Okay, and then I'm going to go from the 6 inch down to the 10 inch mark. There's the 6 and there's the 10, and I'm just going to score it straight down. There we go. Right, so that is all the scoring we need for the moment. So let's bring in our bone folder, and we are going to fold forwards and back. So once forwards and once back. So you can see I've used the two-tone designer series, not designer series, cardstock here, because our normal cardstock is 11 3/4 by 8 1/4 inches. So you're going to need a 12-inch piece. So I have gone for the two-tone designer cardstock. So okay, we're going to do exactly the same with this one. Burnish, and then just bring itself back on itself. And then again, bring it forward. And then bring it back. So that is our score lines for the 2, 4, 8 and 10. And now we are going to burnish the score lines for the diagonals that we've just done. So if you need to, take your ruler, run it up your score line that you've already created, and then just fold your paper along that line. Okay, and then that will come straight down like that, top down to the bottom, and you can burnish and then do exactly the same on the reverse. So that's it. I'm not pressing too hard on these score lines, but I just need them to fold so we can make life easier. And that's that for when the card is received. If the score lines are, there we go, that way, and then back that way. There we go. So that's those two. Then we need to do the other two score lines. So there's that one there, and we're gonna bring it up. There we go. Look at that, and do it that way as well. Straight to the edge and straight out. And burnish, and then back on itself. And by doing that, you're going to make yourself easier to do your pinch here. You see, because you've burnished, and it makes life so much easier. Right, let's do one more, which is this one here. Whoops. She says, throwing her ruler on the floor. Okay, we're back. So let's take our piece of card and bring it up on itself. There we go. And go all the way across. And then we're going to bring it on ourselves again. Right. So what you now need to do is you can pinch these two and you can pinch these two, and that will give you your shape for your diamond to spring out. So all you need to do now is to reburnish the score lines. So I like to push that down. I'm just going to use my finger for that bit. And then we can just 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Perfect. Let's just make sure those are straight. And I'm just going to burnish those as well. Right, so we now have our card base. So it's now time to decorate. Let's put that aside. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in the largest square, which is the 3 3/4 inches. Okay, and we're going to cut this diagonally in half. Bring in my trimmer. I'm just going to try and get rid of this piece of paper. I don't need that now. We're doing well today. We're doing well. So, piece of card base. We're going to cut it from the bottom left up to the top right. Not card base, designer series paper. Okay. What I like to do is once I know that this is straight, I like to put the blade into the middle. So straight down and then straight up. That way I find I get a clearer cut. This piece, unfortunately, we don't need, so we need to pop it aside. We're going to take this piece now and turn it around so it's a triangle shape. I'm going to run the bottom of the base along the line here. And I'm going to make sure that the point of the triangle is right at the top. Okay. Bring it down. Make sure I'm still happy that it's literally in the groove. And I'm going to cut it in half. Okay, so what I want to do is bring in my card again. So the two pieces we've just cut, one will go here, and if we lay it down flat, and one will go here. Like so, they will be glued down onto there. The two straights that we had, which were 1 3/4 by 3 3/4, one will go there and one will go there. Okay. So what we need to do now is just create the triangles to go on these 4 pieces. Onto here and onto here. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that up there for a second. Bring in our 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. And I'm going to cut that in half diagonally again. So I'm going to cut it in half. So another tips there and the tips there. Straight down, straight up. Pop that aside for a second. We will return to that. This is now going to turn diagonally. I'm going to run that straight along the bottom again, making sure the point is in the groove. And I'm going to go up and back down, put that section aside, and I'm now going to turn this piece around. Now this piece will fit in this section here, but we need to cut it in half so that they each fold. Sorry, so you get one in that section and one in that section rather than a complete one. Okay, so taking our card, our DSP, I'm going to do that again. I'm going to cut that in half. Okay, and I'm just going to pop that piece, oops, to there. Okay, and I'm going to take the next piece and do exactly the same. So let's run it across. Make sure the point's in the middle. Come on. Whoop. And then that will go into those two pieces there. And then all I'm left with the other half, which I need to do for here. So let's cut that into quarters. Straight up, straight down. Then we're going to turn that quarter around so the point is up to the top. And I'm going to cut that in half. That will go up here. And then the last one, again, we're going to cut that quarter into half, so we'll have 8ths. Now, don't worry, I will put all the measurements for this onto my blog and the instructions for the diagonal creation. So that's that way. Always confuses me. Okay, so these are now, that's exactly where they're going to go. So we're just going to put them with our multi-purpose. Again, I'm going to use the multi-purpose so that it is easy to maneuver. So straight down, and that will go over to there, making sure that there is a space all the way around. Then we can stick this piece down. I like to put these places of designer series paper where they're going to go. That way I know that when I'm gluing them down, they're in the right place. Okay, that's these two pieces now. I have just put them aside before and then spent hours trying to work out where they were going. Not a good way, not a good use of my time. So by just laying them down on the actual location, I find that my time is better used. Okay, there we are. That's that one. And then now, if you wanted to, you could cut yourself a square of designer series paper that would go, bear with me for a second, into this bit here. However, I haven't done so, but it would need to be a 2.5 by 2.5 square, and then you would turn it so it looked like a diamond shape. But for the purpose of this card, I'm just going to have the ephemera go on. Okay, so let's do, make sure I'm doing this right. Yep, that's right. Right, let's pop that into there and move it up a bit. So once you've got all the pieces cut out, it is quite an easy card to put together and complete, but it does look very impressive when the receiver gets it. So it's another cold day here, but thankfully it's a bit brighter today. The dogs are in the other room. They were curled up just by the radiator, keeping themselves warm, because even though it's bright, it's still cold. And all seems to be going well. But then sometimes you do think to yourself, oh, am I provoking my good luck at the moment? There we go. So there's that one. The last two to go on now. I hope you're having good weather wherever you are. There we go. Perfect. And then the last piece. You can always tell when you're talking to an English person or a British person. They always want to discuss the weather. I don't know why we do it, but it's just a case of, oh, it's the weather. But we do. Okay, so there is our design all laid out. So before I bring this up, what I want to do is I want to add my focal point. So as I said, I've got this piece of ephemera that came with the papers, and I'm just going to make sure that it lays straight on the card. Okay, so that works. Now you could raise it, but for the purpose of this, I'm just going to glue it straight down. So I'm just going to turn it around. I'll put the lid on. Don't know why. And I'm just going to do a bit in the middle because I don't want, obviously, the glue to ooze over the edges. So once again, make sure it's got it in the right location. And I'm going to pop that down like so. And then the only other thing to do is to put my happy birthday banner across the top. And I'm going to use my dimensionals for that. So I'm just going to make sure my points are pointing away and that the edges, the flat edges, are top and bottom. And that way I will make sure that they don't show over. Right, so let's pop that one, 2, and 1 makes 3. And then that can go onto there, like so. Now, what you need to do is squeeze there and there, push in, and we have our pop-up diamond card. There you go. So let's do that. There it is. There is our card. I think it's a stunning design. I love it. It's always been one of my favourites. And I think whoever receives that would be over the moon. So there is our happy birthday version, and here's our happy 50th. So thank you ever so much for joining me today. We'll be back next week with a new stamp set of the week, so do join me there. But whatever you do, have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to catch up with you very soon. Thank you. Bye.